Hey, welcome in.
Welcome to the Arrowhead Addict podcast.
We are here coming to you live. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. You only win a Super Bowl 2 times every 5 years, right? Oh! The warm-up act is over. Let's bring in Melissa Etheridge, massive Chiefs fan. Melissa,
Super Bowl champion, 2-time Pro Bowler, and Trent Green. Trent Green, how you doing?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
and he picked it up! He picked it up! He's gonna score! And we'll see you next week. But until then, as always, go Chiefs.
What's up, everybody? My name is Matt Connor. I'm here with my friends Sterling Holmes and our guest for this evening. I was going to say this morning. My day's upside down. Stacy Smith is here, one of our great contributors at Arrowhead Addict. How are you guys today?
I'm great, man. It is a beautiful Tuesday afternoon. We're inching closer to training camp. We feel so far away. As a man who loves everything Kansas City, the Royals were done in May. So every day we inch closer to July 18th is a good day in my book.
That's true, man. That's creeping closer. Stacy, are you excited about camp coming up, man? Or does it feel too far, or are you kind of good with the distance?
Oh, man, it feels like it's been a long off season, so I'm excited for it. I'm excited to get up there a couple of times and see what the team is looking like. So yeah, coming up here we're within 30 days at this point, right?
Yeah. I mean, we're like less than a month. It's just like a few weeks and we're there. At least for the rookies and like the quarterbacks, and the equipment managers and all that stuff. I bet they're already there. I bet if you're an equipment manager, you're already doing laundry at this point, right? I don't know. Folks, if you're hanging out with us today, we're talking a few different things. Even though there's not a lot of news, we will get to a few things there to lead out the show. Also, we're thrilled to have Stacy on because we want to talk about maybe some missed marketing opportunities and some things. Stacy's not only a great football writer, not only does he make music on the side too, but he's also a sneakerhead. By the way, Stacy, how many pairs of sneakers do you own? Can I ask this?
You can certainly ask. I don't know that I have an answer for you. It's pretty crazy. I actually checked yesterday. I got a couple of stacks that go up to my ceiling in my office. So yeah, it's actually pretty crazy right now. I don't have an accurate count.
All right. We will just call it an innumerable pile. But we want to talk about some of that, and then also later in the show we'll be talking about whether the Chiefs should go shopping. If you look at the list of free agents available at this point, there's actually some really intriguing names at some positions, and we'll talk all of that. But before we do, we want to give a shout out from some of our friends that may help you make some money or take some of your money. I don't know.
We hope you make money, and that's if you use FanDuel Sportsbook. If you go to FanDuel, click the link in the description to sign up, and if you do that, you can get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 on any sport. Hey, you want free money? We all want free money, so get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 on any sport. This offer is available for new customers who are 21 plus and physically present in most legal gambling states. Please remember to always gamble responsibly. Please check the description for the full offer's terms. And by the way, if you already have a FanDuel account, you can head to arrowheadaddict.com/bets to find more. That's arrowheadaddict.com/bets to find more. You can support the podcast, hopefully win some money. Come on. I was on a heater. I was 10 of 11 in baseball games the other day. We're doing pretty good.
That's great.
Yeah.
I think my voice. Yeah,
you were so excited you turned into Hanson when they were 12 years old. It's very impressive.
I went back through puberty, and did you just say Hanson?
Yeah, you're like the 12-year-old version of Hanson. Yeah, when they sang Bop and stuff.
Yeah. I actually just interviewed Hanson like a few days ago. We'll talk about that later.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, literally.
Taylor or all three?
All three of them together. Zach Taylor and Other Hansen. Yeah.
You have to understand, I love Hansen. I saw him in concert when I was in high school.
They're legitimately a great band.
Yeah, very
and
talented.
And everyone's like, wait, they did anything else other than that?
Pisses me off. I always said that Mbop may have been one of the worst things that actually happened to their career, because then you get put in that little category of a fun little kid pop band, but they're very musically talented.
They are.
No one cares. So let's talk Chiefs.
We'll talk Hansen after the show, but Hey, so for those of you tuning in, if you hear a third voice, just want to let you know, first of all, if you're not already following Stacy Smith online at MC Reach on Twitter, got great opinions about most things. He knows what's really up in entertainment. We both love the show Black Mirror. I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit later too. But what I love about Stacy's angles about the Chiefs, especially, is that there's always like this unique angle, this take. Stacy, so many times I'll check Twitter and you're like, you know what, everyone's saying this, but I ain't buying it. Or you're like, something's going on because we're not hearing about this or that. And there's always like this thought about what's going on behind the thing. And I love it. It's what makes him such a great writer on site, but also just a follower in general on social media. And he's been on here before. We wanted to bring him back. So just want to say officially welcome here. As we get into news, we just thought, let's just have Stacy on for the whole show. It'll be a great time. So as we're diving into some of the Chiefs news here, one of the things we learned today, Germany tickets sold out. They were like Ben Affleck's wife, Gone Girl, 15 minutes, right? What, like, are you surprised by, you hate my Ben Affleck joke there, but like, were you surprised by Gone in 15 minutes? Some reports said there was 1 million people waiting in the queue, or over 1 million people waiting, like, to click these tickets. Now, I mean, who knows how many of those people were just wanting to sell them, to buy them, or, you know, to flip them later on, whatever. But does that surprise you that it's such a hot ticket? Or did you guys try to go yourself?
It didn't surprise me. I know they've been working to build their footprint in that market. I know they've worked a lot in the UK, but just seeing some of the spots they're doing, some of the work they're doing to build that out, I'm not surprised. I mean, you're talking about the world champion Chiefs here. So, you know, you're going to have your diehards, but you also have a growing fan base of folks who are coming on because of the success of the team.
Yeah, what is this? The Iron Maiden at the Truman? Like, did they not play? Like, get a bigger stadium. No, I'm kidding. This is actually pretty cool, though. I mean, I'm not shocked because it's not a once in a lifetime experience, but it's a very, very, very rare experience. A lot of Americans want to go to this game. It's not just German. It's not just Germany. It's a lot of Americans. There's a lot of people from other countries in Europe that want to go to this game. And not only that, it's the Chiefs. I mean, it is the best team in the NFL overseas. Of course, how often do you get a chance to see the best player at any given sport in their prime? If you wanted to see Messi when he was 30 years old or 28, that's what this would be like. You want to see LeBron when he was in his prime, this is what that would be like. Of course, you want to go see this game. It's such a unique thing. I'm excited. I really, really wish I could go, but I even speak a little bit of German, but I ain't paying those tickets, baby. You give me for free, I'm in, but I ain't paying those tickets.
Sprechen de Deutsch. I will say, some of our commenters, HD Chiefs fan, says some of us have tickets for the Germany game. Congratulations to you if you got them. By the way, it's not a throwaway game. I think this is what I love about it. I mean, you hate to see it because it's not at Arrowhead, which would make it more accessible. But part of the great, like, so many of those early European games just felt like someone versus the Jags, and it's going to be a throwaway in London, that kind of thing. It's 9 a.m. football here in the States. Who cares? But this is like Tyreek Hill playing the Chiefs for the first time. This is if you want to run up the points, Mike McDaniel will give you 30, and Andy Reid will give you 30. So there's like fireworks in Frankfurt. That's what I'd be calling this. By the way, Sterling, I'll go to you. Are you sad that this was not an Arrowhead? Or are you like, no, this is a good gift for Germany?
I've gone back and forth. It's sad that we don't get to see Tyreek Hill get the deuces thrown his way from a Chiefs player, but at the same time, this has got to be a really cool experience for the players and for the organization and for Germany. We knew the Chiefs were giving up a home game that was already in the works. So the only issue was, is it going to be, it had to be, there was 3 possible teams, Detroit, the Bears, and Miami. And Detroit hadn't played in Kansas City for a long, long time. In Chicago, they thought the money was going to be really good here in Kansas City, as far as there's a lot of Chicago fans that live in Kansas City still. They still travel very well, and they're only 8 hours away, so it made sense. So that only left Miami. I'm sad, but I understand the reasons behind it.
Yeah. What about you, Stacy? You feel the same?
Yeah, I was a little disappointed, right? I wanted to drop the banner on Tyreek, especially after all the podcast stuff and the conversation that happened earlier in the year. So I really wanted that game to happen. But I certainly understand you want a game with some intrigue league wide. It's going to be on in a window that there won't be any other football. So it certainly makes sense to have 2 explosive teams that are going to put a great product on the field.
Yeah, it's an early game, but no doubt everyone will be up for that one. I want to shift gears here to there's been no news. Look, the last thing we heard, end of last week, the news came out. DeAndre Hopkins says, look, I'm willing to wait. I'm willing to wait and see what other news what other teams come out of the woodwork. He'd visited the Titans. Now, normally, think of the difference in free agency. If a player visits a team in free agency, you think, oh, he's gone. The moment they go to that team, you think, boy, you're going to be lucky to see them free on the other side. But he goes to Tennessee, comes out free, goes to New England, comes out free. And not only that, but remains free for weeks and then says, yeah, we're still waiting. So that feels like a no news kind of thing, which it is, except I wonder, in my head, I'm thinking, is no news good news for a team like the Chiefs or for a team like the Bills? Because any attempts to try to create some sort of competitive, bidding, it's not happening. And he's not then going for the money that apparently these teams may or may not be offering. Stacy, I'd love your take on whether you even want to see DeAndre. And is this sort of good news for those fans who want to see him in KC?
Sure. I'd be open to Hopkins at the right price. I do think it is good news because it just proves that he's willing to play the long game and he'll wait for the offer that really strikes him before he moves. And that will give the Chiefs time for this whole Quinnen Williams, Chris Jones situation to play out, to maybe open up the cap space to bring him in.
Yeah. Sterling, what do you think? Are you tired of all this?
I am so sick and tired of all this. I don't give a hoot nor a holler. I just don't care. I don't care because the Chiefs, guess what? They're the Super Bowl favorites right now. What happens if they sign DeAndre Hopkins? They'll still be the Super Bowl favorites. DeAndre Hopkins signs with any other team, the Chiefs will still be the Super Bowl favorites. It's a fun piece. It's not a necessity. At some point, you have to let the young wide receivers grow as well. If it's a 1-year deal, I'm in on Hopkins on a 1-year deal. I've made that known before. I'll make it known again now. 1-year deal, I am in. Anything more than a 1-year deal, you are handicapping yourself as far as the ability to re-sign Creed Humphrey, not Joe Tooney. Well, I guess technically if you wanted to, but Creed Humphrey, Trey Smith, Nick Bolton, Willie Gay Jr., L'Jarius Sneed. Mahomes can make wide receivers better. He can't make linebackers better. That's just not how it works. He's not playing linebacker as well. So what it comes down to is if the price is right for 1 year, I'm in. Any more, no. Is it good that there's no real talk with DeAndre Hopkins as far as other teams? Sure. It's fine. End of the day, I don't think he's coming to Kansas City. As much as he says he wants to win, he's also made it known he wants the money. And I'm just sitting here going, yeah, well, no bleep guy. Everyone says the same thing. They always want to win and they always want the money. At some point, you have to decide. So it's a wait and see, but I'm not holding my breath.
Sure. Would DeAndre's presence on another team, if it's a contender, worry you? Either one of you.
Not really.
It wouldn't worry me. No, I think certainly you can bolster other offenses in the AFC. Team like the Bills
Okay.
certainly could use him, and that would make their offense stronger, but it wouldn't worry me.
Okay. boy, some agreement there. I think I may be a bit more bullish on what I think DeAndre brings to the table. I still think there's something very productive there, and I'd be very happy to see him in Kansas City. Let's go to some comments real fast. Landon says MVS is wide receiver 1 and almost as valuable as Kelsey for the space he creates for underneath routes. That's a big comparison. We're in huge trouble if MVS goes down. I agree. No one would want to see him gone. Tilly Train says, let him apply to the training camp roster like anyone else and see if he can beat someone out. I have a feeling Hopkins is going to get a better deal than that. But Ronald Rodrigo says, with an incentive-driven deal, count me in. I think we'd all agree on that one. One more here in the bit of news, just because I love it so much. 1, I love Chris Jones on Twitter. 2, I love Chris Jones's fortitude on Twitter because it starts with, I'm going to talk about this every day. And then about day 3, he's like, I'm not sure if I'm talking about it anymore. But Chris Jones came out today or last night with a picture of himself in Madden and says, EA Sports, we have problems here. Then today he ats them again and says, hey, we're going to keep talking. I'm going to tweet at you. We're going to do something about this. What did you guys see the way Chris Jones looks in the photo? And then is he going to keep talking about it, or is he going to fade away like he did with the Frank Clark demands and the Chiefs? Stacy, to you.
Well, I mean, you're going to hear lots of complaints. You hear complaints from players about Madden every year, from ratings to their aesthetics to everything else. And he has every right. That is not Chris Jones. That looks like LaShawn McCoy.
It is bad. It is quite bad.
I think Richard's getting ready to pull up the picture of Chris Jones. There we go.
That's some good work there.
It doesn't look a lot like him, but also, let's be real now. I don't think anyone's picture in Madden looks a lot like him. It is so hard to go through that many players and go through every little thing to make sure it is correct. First off, they're wearing a helmet in the game anyways. They're playing with helmets on. It's not a big deal. Like, you could just you don't even need to have the faces. If Madden was smart, they wouldn't even do the faces. Just have the helmet over on so you can just see the eyes. I don't know. I think it's hilarious. I think it's funny. And I hope Chris Jones keeps it up.
I do love it. I love following him. Well, hey, folks, before we move on, just want to remind you, if you're watching at all, you can go to arrowheadaddict.com/swag. Do I have that right? Is that right? No, that's not right at all.
Richard, thank you for being the voice of reason because Matt Connor does not know what we're doing. The link is in the description below, Connor.
There it is.
Can you, Matt Connor? Come on.
I'm sorry.
Click the link in the description below. Shirts, beach towels, baby onesies, pint glass. And if you use code AA20, get 20% off your order today. That code lasts until Sunday. So code AA20 for 20% off at checkout.
Man, I had that wrong. We were talking about Hansen and then Chris Jones's looks, and I just got all taken away. Hey, so one of my favorite pieces that we've had written over the last couple of weeks at Arrowhead Addict was actually stemming from a conversation that Stacy and I were having where he said, man, I think Adidas is missing a real opportunity here with Patrick Mahomes and the way that they've sort of utilized him, ever since signing him. You got like the greatest player in the greatest sport in America, or the most popular sport. I was like, Stacey, you got to come on the show. You got to give people basically a summary of what you said in the column. And I'd love to kind of banter about it and ask you some more questions. First of all, what do you mean when you say Adidas is missing a great opportunity with Patrick Mahomes as one of the athletes that they sponsor?
Just feels like, he is the face of the NFL. He's one of the one of the biggest and brightest stars in professional sports right now. And it just doesn't feel like it if you look at his relationship with the Adidas brand. He certainly has his own signature shoe, which has in the history of the NFL has not, that distinction has not been for very many players. It's been fewer than 20 players that have had their own signature shoe playing in the NFL, but it just feels like there's an opportunity that's being missed. It feels like there's so much more that he could be. He could be even bigger and brighter with his partnership with Adidas. And I think about it. I watched the movie Air recently. It was a film about the bringing Michael Jordan on to Nike at a time where their basketball division was failing. So just thinking about that story, thinking about everything that they did to line up the relationship they ultimately built with Michael Jordan. And I know I heard the conversations, I heard the responses, and certainly basketball is a very different sport, and that was a very different sports landscape, but it just feels like there's more that could be done. If you can imagine Patrick Mahomes signed to Nike, or imagine Patrick Mahomes signed to the Jordan brand, I just feel like we would be seeing more. I feel like the way that they've marketed him and his shoe has left some things to the imagination. So
I can't think of one NFL player, though, with any NFL player. I mean, even Starbury. Like, we're not even talking about a superstar. Stephon Marbury had his own shoe. Shaquille O'Neal had his own shoe, the Shaqnosis. Remember those Reebok pumps? I don't think it's Adidas necessarily. I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong, but a little pushback is I think it is the sport itself. Tom Brady was the face of the NFL for so long, 20 plus years. Not a single thing. You don't just wear Uggs, but like, it's tough because basketball shoes you can wear on and off the court. So for Mahomes, you're going to have a separate entity of a football cleat, and then you would also have to have an off the field line. And in essence, you're basically making a basketball shoe for Patrick Mahomes in that essence. Then you're making a different sport for him. Same thing with baseball. The only baseball shoe I can think of is Ken Griffey Jr.'s and A-Rod. I think A-Rod had one at one point too, but like baseball shoes, it was very rare to have a signature shoe that was very, very popular with the average person.
Sure, and I think it's tough to make his star comparable to a Michael Jordan because basketball is different, right? You get 82 opportunities to see a player wearing a particular shoe, so it is different. I acknowledge that, but I think just even as a lifestyle shoe, there's more opportunities that could be made available just within the sneaker space, right? There are other entities that have had shoes that aren't athletes at all that have been able to kind of corner the market and create a level of buzz and a level of hype and interest in a shoe that I think could be duplicated with Patrick Mahomes. He's a major star, and I think there's more that could be done with him.
Do you think part of that is about, like the Jordan brand was so ubiquitous, like, everywhere? I mean, it was like partnered with everywhere, and the commercials were everywhere, and I Want to Be Like Mike was everywhere. And if you watch that great Last Dance documentary series, it kind of chronicles so much of that. And despite Mahomes being the best player in what is clearly the most popular sport, I mean, take whatever NBA ratings you want. I mean, the NFL is a steamroller over even other popular things. So you would think that being this golden child in this golden era within this popular sport would elevate him maybe even to like that in some ways we could even be talking about him like, oh my gosh, could he surpass the Jordan brand? But instead the Jordan brand is kind of out here like here's how big you could get. And I don't think we talk about Mahomes or see Mahomes or hear about Mahomes in any sort of ubiquitous way that kind of like overwhelms popular culture.
Sure. And I think a part of that has to do with his personality. There are a lot of variables here. And so again, just having a conversation on Twitter with one person that replied to the story, the ask is not that he be made to be as ubiquitous as Michael Jordan was, right? I think that's unreasonable. But there are certainly avenues that are available to make even the shoe bigger than what it is. I think just the design of the shoe, the aesthetics. I don't think it was a great silhouette. I think there's more they can do in the future when they have, the next iteration of the shoe. I think it can be marketed in a way through certain sneaker platforms. There's such a big presence of sneaker YouTube. I think there's so much more that can be done to expand his reach on that brand.
I just think it's so tough. Just the sport you play. And that's what it comes down to. The fact that the sport he plays uses a cleat. If you are playing basketball, it's so easy to have the parallels of on and off. I know I had a pair of Paul Georges at one point. I had a pair of Kyrie Irvings at one point. I had a pair of Allen Iversons at one point. I had a pair of LeBron James shoes at one point. I had a pair of Kobe's at one point. Right? I had a pair of John Wall's. John Wall had his own shoe at one point. Like that's the whole point. The NBA, there's so many shoe lines, and they were so unique, but it wasn't just for basketball. I mean, I obviously wore them just for basketball. I'm not a heathen. I'm not getting dirt on those shoes. Come on. I'm not the guy that takes the shoes, walks outside, and ruins the court. If you do that, you're a bad person. I hope you step on a Lego. But the point is, you can if you want. You can rock those shoes outside of just the court. It's way easier to play pickup ball. A lot of people still play pickup ball. You can work out in those shoes. The Mahomes shoe, it's just being in football, in my opinion, makes it so much more difficult to have that type of reach.
Sure.
Yeah, and I don't think it's specific to the shoe. I think the shoe's a big part of it, but there's also the commercials. You think about Michael Jordan, you're not just thinking about the shoes, you're thinking about maybe arguably the best pitchman in the history of professional sports. So it's bigger than the shoe, but I think a shoe is a central part of it. And so I think there are ways that they can do better by Patrick Mahomes and the shoe and his presence on the brand. I would like to see, you think about the Penny commercials, or you think about Jordan's commercials, the series of commercials he did with Spike Lee. Like, those are the creative things that Nike did to establish and create the legend that we now think of when we think about Michael Jordan in the 90s. And so I think those same things can happen. I mean, we're now in the age of social media. We're now in the age of advanced technology when it comes to how they shoot and film cameras. There are things that are possible now that weren't possible when Michael Jordan was early in his career. So I just think there's more that can be done. He will never be Michael Jordan. There's Michael Jordan's 101. So that's certainly not the ask, but I do think there are opportunities being left on the table.
Maybe part of this goes back to, remember his rookie year when he refused to do any sort of market promotion or anything like that. Like, remember, for the sake of, Alex Smith was the starter, the leader. He was going to take a back seat. He was going to be an understudy for that year. And we really didn't see him. He's not out there on State Farm. He's not out there in any sort of other commercial until he'd been handed the reins one full year later. Some of that maybe what you're talking about is a person who's more selective and who maybe doesn't want to go over the top in that way. Certainly he makes enough money. And, maybe part of it is the personality. Maybe that's part of it and what's driving it there too. I don't know.
Yeah, I think personality is a big part of it. I also think just maybe marketing strategy is a part of that as well. And certainly the people that do this for a living in Adidas have forgotten more than I've ever known about this. So I don't want to posture in a way that I know more than the folks over at Adidas, specifically in how they are strategizing the marketing. I just think there are ways that he can connect to a young group of people, many of which who are fans of his. He has plenty of kids that want to be like him. I just think there's a different way that they can connect with that audience to grow the star on the brand. And I think if he were signed to the Jordan brand, if he were signed to Nike, it would look a little bit different.
Interesting. Well, folks, if you haven't already read Stacy's column, you can certainly do so. You can find the link in the information section of wherever you take in this podcast. But yeah, we just appreciate you breaking that down, Stacy. It's great to kind of think about. What's weird is the Chiefs have the best player in the sport on their roster, and we're talking about how he could be more popular than he already is using comparisons like Michael Jordan. So yeah, that's the era that we're in today. Folks, we want to move on. Let's do shopping. I don't know if you have your shopping cart. By the way, I'm wearing my John McGraws. I don't know if you guys have a pair of those, but that's what I've got right now. Anyway, we'll do a little bit of shopping here. If you look at NFL free agent lists, there are guys I like at a lot of positions. And yet we have a team that just won the Super Bowl that had a young draft class last year, more draftees this year. How much room is there? What I want to do for this round is to talk about should the Chiefs go shopping at various positions, and then who maybe you like at those positions. But I'd love to start with you can't go shopping without your checkbook. And last time I checked, the Chiefs are dead last in cap space. Now they have more than $177, which is what they had back in 2020. But like, are you worried about the lack of cap space at all at this point? Is that sort of foolish? Sterling, what's your take on the Chiefs' finances right now?
They're fine. If they want to open up some cap space, they have the ability to. A lot of it just comes down to Chris Jones. Once a Chris Jones deal gets done, you're going to see a lot of cap space open up. They can get a decent amount of guys, at least on a one-year deal. Is that Hopkins? Is that Unique Ngakoue? That remains to be seen. I mean, if you want an edge guy, I will always say Unique Ngakoue. I think he's a very, very talented player. I don't think a running back is in the cards. I think it would be very, very silly. Dalvin Cook is a fine running back. He's still pretty good, but is he better than Isaiah Pacheco? I don't know. Yards per carry last year goes Isaiah Pacheco's way. I think the efficiency numbers go Pacheco's way as well. I like Dalvin Cook, but it doesn't make a lot of sense in today's running back market. He's not taking a cheap deal. He wants his money. We know how running backs are, how they're built, how they're wired, and what he has said. Ezekiel Elliott is still out there. Leonard Fournette still out there. But again, two more running backs I don't think the Chiefs need to take a look at. I like the state of the running back room for Kansas City. There's not really a lot of names that I'm sitting here going that, yeah, the Chiefs need that. The Chiefs are in a great spot. They're very versatile. There's a ton of depth. They've drafted extremely well. They're very young. Last year was the hardest year. That was the growing pain year. And they got through that with a Super Bowl victory. Quite frankly, I'm sitting here going, I think the Chiefs are in a really good spot. I don't think they need to hit the free agent market at all. At all? No. Interesting. Stacy, would you agree with that or disagree?
I would disagree a little bit. I don't think it's a major need, but there are certainly some positions I would like to see some additional depth. Certainly, we've been talking about Hopkins. I think having another reliable veteran in the wide receiver room would be good. I think you can certainly add some depth along the defensive line as well. I'd love to see a low-profile edge signing, maybe another veteran defensive tackle for the rotation. There are a couple of positions. I don't think it's a major need. I don't think the Chiefs need to panic and rush out to spend a lot of money the rest of the way. But I do think there are a couple of positions where they can sprinkle in a bit more depth.
Yeah. I want to go back to this, and Sterling, push back here, if you will, because you just kind of like poo-pooed the whole running back thing. Like, oh, they're good. And I agree. It could be fine, right? Pacheco looked great. No one wants to take anything away from Pacheco. You want him to develop. Jerick McKinnon, sure, he's back. Tandem mate. If he hasn't hit that wall near 30, maybe something there, or maybe able to pick up where he was last year. But
dude, he was outstanding last year at what they used him for and what they're going to use him again for. He was outstanding as a third down back. We know what his role is. He's not getting 20 carries a game. He'll get 3 carries. He'll get 3 receptions. That's what he's used for.
3 carries. I guess I get that. But Pacheco had offseason surgery, right? And they're hoping he gets back by the middle of training camp. Mm-hmm. We're talking about Clyde, who's always kind of injured, right? Mm-hmm. McKenna getting a little bit older. And then we're making all this, like, there's all this rah around Prince as this undrafted free agent coming in out of Tulsa, which, it's always a great story when a kid hits like that out of nowhere. But I guess when I look at the free agent list and I see all these veterans who have been recently productive, and
can I ask you something?
Yeah.
Why do you think they're free agents?
I get that. I totally get that. Right.
Why do you think that the Vikings chose Alex Matterson over Dalvin Cook, especially based on that contract?
Because
Why?
Dalvin Cook was due like
Sure.
$10 million. Like
Sure.
it was like you got to clear that. Zeke's got to clear that space.
Sure.
Right. I mean, I don't think it has to do with the fact that they're just like done. They're not like all going to retire.
Fournette? What about Fournette? He got beat out by Rashad White. My point here is the reason these dudes are free agents for the most part. Again, obviously the contract comes into play here. But if Zeke went the way of Todd Gurley and doesn't play another snap in the NFL, I really wouldn't be that shocked. I mean, end of the day, we're talking about maybe the most replaceable position in football right now, where we are at in 2023 in the NFL. We're talking about the most replaceable position. The list of Super Bowl winners in this recent era where the running back has been the main focus. Name one. Darrell Williams and Damian Williams. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
the Chiefs don't need. But I'm saying that the Chiefs don't need to go out and get someone right now. I'm comfortable with who they have. If they want to pick up a random guy later on, Melvin Gordon, come on down in the middle of the season because an injury happens, that's fine with me. Roll with who you have. Worry about it later.
I get it. I mean, you're arguing some things I'm not arguing. I guess
I just want to argue, I guess. I'm sorry.
I know. It feels that way a little bit. I don't. Stacy, what do you think, man?
I kind of see both sides of it. I think, to Sterling's point, he's right. Running back is the easiest position to backfill in the NFL. And I think league-wide, the overall perception and value being placed on the running back position is lower than it has been in quite some time. So I get that piece. I do think I would be a wee bit concerned. I do love Deneric Prince. I think he's going to have a very good chance to make this roster and maybe pick up some snaps if Pacheco has some concerns going into the season. But I wouldn't be mad at – it's not on my short list. Running back would not be on my short list. But I wouldn't be mad at another low-profile veteran back being brought in, at least for camp, to kind of push guys, see where they are. And maybe give them some insurance if Pacheco is not quite on schedule in terms of his recovery.
Connor, where are you at? Where are you at with this?
I like bringing in a little bit extra security because the list of names there is good. And so I guess I'm just saying. So
if I can ask.
Yeah.
Are you thinking a guy like Leonard Fournette, James Robinson?
Yes.
Like who would be the guys that would be on your short list?
Yep, I wouldn't mind Fournette. I wouldn't mind. I mean, Cook has been mentioned here or there. I guess all I'm saying is this. I'm looking at that list and going, injury, inexperience, age, inexperience, whatever. And I'm going, if with all that, if you have room and the cost is cheap and there is some supply, why wouldn't I pick it up for next to nothing? I mean, it would be a contract so low that it wouldn't even count against the top 51 contracts, which is what comprises your hit against the salary cap anyway. And I don't like that Pacheco had 2 surgeries and is still not going to be around until quote, hopefully middle of training camp. I don't like that. I don't like Jarrett McKinnon coming back for age 30 season, hoping he's going to be what he's been for the last couple. To me, that's a dice roll. Here's another dice roll. Here's another dice roll. And I'm thinking, well, if you're going to roll all those dice, then shore it up just a little bit because there's a long line of guys waiting in that taxi stand for some car to pick them up. You could do it for pennies on the dollar and just make sure that you're not stressing anyone out by making them get ready. I'm not stressing out over the running back position by any stretch. I'm just saying, look at that long line of names. One of those guys would work pretty well to just kind of come in and, like you said, provide some competition, show him what he's got. I could care less if it's Gordon, if it's Fournette, if Eric Bieniemy decides to come back as a player coach. I don't care. I'm just saying there are a lot of recognizable guys out there. I don't think they're all done, and I think there's room for it. That's all I'm saying, especially with Pacheco having 2 surgeries.
LaMichael P. Ryan ain't doing it for you.
Yeah, yeah. As much as I love saying that name, no, that's P. Ryan's not doing it for me. Yeah. Let's move on. Earlier, Stacy, you mentioned the defensive line. Sterling, you've already said I wouldn't go shopping at all, but I know from experience that you and I have talked about, maybe the importance of adding that defense, especially on the edge, where there's some inexperience here, right? Last year, the Chiefs carried both Kando and Herring, and both were just sort of healthy scratches, or should have been just healthy inactives, the whole season. Carlos Dunlap came out not too long ago and said, "Hey, I'm interested. I'm here." Melvin Ingram still there, etc. Would you not want to see the Chiefs go shopping there for even familiar faces? Sterling.
Oh, that's for me. Sorry, I thought it was Stacy. I'm fine with it, man. I am fine with it. Is it a necessity? No, it's not. Is it nice considering Charles Omenihu might miss some games, and if he does, is it going to be the start of the season based on whatever suspension? If a suspension gets levied down, yeah, that'd be nice. The first 4 games of the year, FAU still wants to get his feet wet, have him learn behind someone. That's great. But is it a necessity? No, I don't think it is. I think you'll see Charles Omenihu get a ton of snaps inside, outside, all over. The versatility of this defensive line is its strong suit. You'll obviously see Chris Jones kick out at times as well. Mike Dana is one of the most underrated defensive linemen, in my opinion, in the NFL. He continues to put up and produce numbers for being a 5th-round draft pick. If they got Ingram, if they got Ngakoue, if they got Dunlap, I'd be happy, but it doesn't move the needle for me a ton. Again, I think it's more of a start of the season type of move, not a finishing move that really moves the needle in any sort of way.
Stacy, would you want to see the team pick those guys up, or
Yeah,
either
absolutely.
those guys up or someone else?
Absolutely. I'd be okay with the reunion with Dunlap, maybe a guy like Dewan Smoot, Matt Ioannidis. I think having some extra bodies would be plus for the Chiefs, because I think, there's a lot being said about whether or not the talent is there. But for me, it's more of a depth question, right? If any one of those key guys goes down, what happens? Then now you're in a situation where Mike Dana is going to have to play a ton of snaps, right? Felix is going to have a learning curve. So I just want to have another body. I think part of what made that group so special last year was just being able to keep guys fresh with the rotation. And so I think if you've got 1, maybe 2 more pieces, you kind of ensure that can happen going into the new year. Certainly, we know Cullen's going to do his job. He's going to earn that check as well as any position coach on this team. So they're going to be good. My concern is always the depth.
Let's slide inside, because Stacy, I want to go back to you real fast. You said defensive tackle. I think it was like the first position you identified as like, I wouldn't mind if they went shopping here and outside. I think I agree there. Like, are you worried about does it feel thin to you?
No, not worried. But again, just having bodies, they've invested some resources there. The last couple of years, they carried Danny Shelton for quite a while. He wasn't on the active roster a lot, but they did have some extra bodies there. And so I think, again, early in the year, you lost Turk. So, you play the odds, you're going to have injuries throughout the season. And so the question is whether or not you can weather those injuries that happen throughout the year. And so I think just having an extra body, maybe one inside, maybe one outside, would be beneficial especially if, to Sterling's point, if you're going to have Omenihu out due to a suspension, it's going to be even more important to have a healthy rotation.
Yeah. If Omenihu is out in the first half of the year, which is basically going to be a mulligan for Felix in the first place, like just judging off Karlaftis's first half season, right? You can't, if we're not expecting anything from FAU and then Omenihu's out for 2 games, which is 1/8 of the season, you may have some real problems up front if suddenly you're, if Dana's having to carry a significant, like serving as a cornerstone piece. And that's without any other injuries happening either. Sterling, what about you? Defensive tackle? Are you just out totally on all things?
Again, it's fine, but we're talking about DT5. I mean, that's what we're talking about right now. Derek Notty's there. He's going to start unless Keandre Coburn just shows out. You also have Turk Wharton. He's going to get some run when he's healthy. Chris Jones, he's going to play a bleep ton of snaps, like we all know. That's for solid. One incredible and the best defensive tackle in the NFL. 3 really serviceable pieces. By the way, Dana and Charles and Carl Loftus even can all kick inside at any given time. I am content. Doesn't sound like you boys mentioned Joshua Kando or Malik Herring, though. A little surprising, Connor.
Are you, kid? I know. I'm hoping he comes through because I have 3 jerseys of Josh Kando. I need him to come out, and I ordered his shoes, but they never made any. So he did a Kickstarter and stole my money for Kando kicks. But that didn't happen. So yeah, I don't know what's going on. Well, hey, by the way, any other positions? Sterling, you're totally out on shopping. You're like when I pull up to the grocery store, my son's like, "Yeah, I'm staying in the car. Don't need anything." And I'm like, "Well, you say you don't need anything, but you're eating the Cinnamon Toast Crunch I'm putting in the cart. So don't pretend you don't want to go shopping. You want to go shopping. You just want me to
enjoy it. Yeah, I don't want to. I don't like shopping. Okay, you can go shopping for me. Just bring me some ice cream. Okay, give me some key lime pie ice cream. We'll call it good. I'm not going to the store to get it though.
There it is. What about you, Stacy? Any other positions or any other names on a free agent list that you're like, I'd love to see it?
Honestly, no. Really, just those couple of positions. I think for the most part, this roster is pretty well balanced. And I think in most other positions, they have enough depth to weather an injury or two. So I think they'll be good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. We're looking great, especially in the secondary and linebacker, second and third levels of the defense. I haven't seen this kind of talent or depth in a long, long time. Maybe if ever, from watching the team.
This will be the deepest, most versatile defense we have seen in the Patrick Mahomes era. Steve Spagnuolo has dreams over this because he has so many pieces he can move around. Drew Tranquill, ranking as a 12th best pass coverage linebacker in the NFL last year, while also getting 5.5 sacks. Nick Bolton is your green dot, but also Drew Tranquill can in obvious passing down situations. Willie Gay Jr. actually ranked as the 13th best pass coverage linebacker last year, according to PFF. Nick Bolton was the top 15 PFF linebacker overall. I mean, you just go down the list and you're looking at the versatility. We talked about the defensive line going inside and outside. L'Jarius Sneed obviously playing a little bit of inside, outside, some slot corner as well. Justin Reed, Brian Cook, but also if you want to be a ball hawk at safety, you have Mike Edwards. If you want to have some special teamers for Dave Tobe, you have Deion Bush and Najee Johnson. If you want to put a bigger bodied cornerback, put Joshua Williams in the game. You want to have a little bit more of maybe a lanky guy. You have Jalen Watson. I mean, the list goes on and on. I think Spags is going to have a field day with the versatility and talent this defensive line has. Or not defensive line, this defense has.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, before we go to the must list, Stacy, any other Chief-centric thoughts you've had this week that you want to share or questions you want to pose?
I'm curious. I could pose a question to you two. What I think, my sense is that this year's rookie class will not have as many immediate contributions as last year's did. But if you had a sense of a couple of guys you think might be early contributors from this year's rookie class, who would it be?
Sterling, I know your favorite.
Who is it? Guess.
Coburn.
Yeah, I think if there's one guy, it'd be Keandre Coburn. I think he's the best chance of seeing the field early on. Derek Notty didn't take a step forward last year. If Coburn shows out in training camp, that's probably a guy the Chiefs want to see because then he's on a rookie contract for 4 years, right? If he can show out now, get the best 4 years out of Keandre Coburn, that would not shock me. I just think he has the best chance. I'm not saying Keandre Coburn is going to be some superstar, but I do think he has a chance to be the starter maybe week 3, week 4 if things go well for him. The only other guy I could think of would be FAU early. just if Charles does get that suspension. That's the only other guy. I think Rashee Rice is about wide receiver 4, maybe 5 to start the year, behind even Richie James, maybe even wide receiver 6, if we're being honest, if Justin Watson makes the team. These rookies are in a good spot. Yeah. The Chiefs are in a good spot. They don't need these guys to come up and make immediate impacts week 1. The Chiefs had 3 rookies at cornerback last year play meaningful snaps in a Super Bowl. Also, a defensive end. It's crazy. It's wild. That's not the case this year. It's a good thing for Kansas City.
Yeah. I'm with Sterling. I agree with you both. I don't think they'll play much. However, I said this last week. I'll say it again. These Chiefs are not afraid to play rookies up front on offense. They did it with Creed. They did it with Trey. They're not even afraid of like newer faces if they're the right guys. They will play the right 5. That means, I think, if Wanya Morris shows a higher ceiling than a declining or aging Donovan Smith, are we going to see Wanya Morris as the starting left tackle maybe from the bye week on? I'll just say I would not be surprised by that. And if so, that would make him a pretty impressive 3rd-round pick from this year if he's a blindside blocker for Patrick Mahomes in his rookie year.
I like it.
I do too. Plus, I love Wanya Morris. I just listened to a bunch of Boys to Men over the weekend. So I love that Wanya Morris too. And I love, by the way, his mom says he was named after that Wanya Morris. I just think that's like, I just love it. I just love that whole thing. Anyway.
Are we ready to sing Motown Philly? All of us?
I love it. Maybe Boys, ABC, BBD. We're bringing the whole East Coast family. Let's talk about folks, we've come to the end of another episode, which means 2 things. 1, it's time for the must list. And 2, we bring in our esteemed producer, Richard. Are you there?
What's up, guys? I'm here.
Yeah. Looking good, Richard. Looking good.
Y'all are looking even better, so thank you.
Well, yeah, thank you. We're friendly all around. Folks, it's time for the must list. This is the part of the show where we recommend anything. Last week, I recommended a whole country, so anything goes here. Usually it's an album or a movie or a TV show or a book, but hey, we no restraints. Let's let our guest go first. Stacy, are you bringing something to the table here?
Of course. I'm going with an album. I'm going to say, if you're into hip hop, I would say Killer Mike's Michael album, which was released recently. That would be my must. I think his rap album of the year so far. An excellent audio memoir about his life, about love, about loss, about community. It's a great album, and I think will probably hold up and be the rap album of the year.
Wow.
All right. I've added it to my list.
Yeah, that's awesome, man.
I like Run the Jewels. I like Killer Mike.
I do too. I like all things Killer Mike. Like his whole persona. I like just hearing him talk. I love hearing him in interviews. Richard, what about you, brother?
Sharp guy, man. Really sharp guy.
Oh, yeah.
For me, this week, I'm going to recommend a show I am kind of rewatching, have it on the background. You know me. I like to have stuff on in the background. I'm going to recommend Peep Show. That's an old Channel 4 comedy. I think it ended maybe back in 2019 or something like that. But it's been on since 2003. It stars a bunch of just awful people. You can think of this as like the British version of Sunny. So you've got awful people doing awful things. It's filmed all through the first person as well, which is kind of odd for a show. So it's all point of view shots from just about every angle. It's a point of view shot. So very odd show, very cringy. Very self-deprecating. If you're a fan of, and I'm going to redeem myself here, the last time I tried to say this, if you're a fan of Schadenfreude, you will love the show. It's very embarrassing to watch. So yeah, Peep Show.
Oh, I love it. I'll go. This week, so we just started watching The Bear, the second season of The Bear. And if you haven't seen it, Hulu It's a short series. It's only 8 episodes. Most episodes are like 30 minutes. You could probably watch the whole first season in like 4 or 5 hours total. It's a story of like a award-winning chef who comes back to run his deceased brother's Chicago like restaurant. And it's filled with, if you've ever worked in a kitchen, especially like a professional restaurant kitchen, it's like, it's all that hectic, it's all that community, it's all that like environment. But it is like one of the most, it's funny, it's dramatic, it's suspenseful, and then it's like, it's thrilling. And I couldn't believe how well they stuck the landing in the first season. I mean, it's like, it's killer acting and directing. We even rewatched the finale before the season 2 just started. And I was like getting very emotional rewatching it again. Cause it's so beautiful. And also the soundtrack's killer. It's like Wilco and Radiohead and Bob Dylan. And it's all the things. So I love it. Have you guys seen The Bear?
No.
It's a great show.
Yes.
Okay.
Great new season. Great new season.
I love it. Sterling, what about you, brother?
Yeah, I'll go with Charlie Crockett. If you guys know who Charlie Crockett is, he's a kind of bluesy Americana country singer. Very, very good. It almost takes you back to like 1950s, 1960s country. None of that bro country stuff. It's legit good stuff. So Charlie Crockett's the guy I'm going with. If you have a chance to listen to Charlie Crockett, I highly recommend it. If you like Turnpike Troubadours, I believe a couple songs that actually sat down. Evan Faulkner of Turnpike sat down with Charlie Crockett, wrote a couple songs together as well. So that's kind of a cool little connection too. So Charlie Crockett is my must list.
Awesome, man.
That was the most awkward thing you and I've ever done.
You thought I was going to close it, and I thought you were going to close it.
I thought you were going to close it. We just stared at each other and took a deep breath in and said, wow,
it was like,
this is bleeping awkward.
It was like, how are we ending this date? I don't know. Am I just going to the car? What's going on?
Well, we're not going to end with a hug, I don't think, because you and I are too far away, but I will let you take it out. Matt Connor, you got this.
Folks, it's great to be back with you again. Thanks to our producer, Richard, who's always great behind the scenes. Sterling, we fought a little bit today. I'm feeling a little bit of angst, but our friendship goes deep.
I still love you.
I know. I feel the same. And all of you should love anything that Stacy writes or posts on Twitter. Follow him at MCReach. Again, Stacy Smith, writer for Arrowhead Addict. And also check out his music. Links are there in his Twitter bio if you want to go there. Stacy, can I give all that away? Is that all right?
Yeah, everything is there in my bio.
And there it is. Folks, and later on this week, tomorrow, Sterling, you'll be here with Adam Best. Is that right?
Correct.
On Thursday, Patrick Allen will be running the show. Plenty of Chiefs content coming up ahead all this week. We are here for you, creating content, even in a content desert. That's what we do, folks. We'll be back again next week with me and Sterling, and hopefully a re-signed Chris Jones. Until then, go Chiefs.